Robyn Flans with Robyn Flans Drummer Interviews, and today's interview is brought to you by ePad Practice Pads, the only practice pad with Enduroflex playing surface, and also Robyn Flans Media, where you can contact me for writing services. And, well, today we have a special guest in our studio, our little humble studio. And that special guest, ooh!
I don't know if I deserve a drum roll. I don't know if I'm worthy of a drum roll.
Quiet.
Sorry.
Quiet. Not your turn. Our special guest is somebody you've been watching on television for forever. I mean, this guy has been on your TV sets, well, even before the show that you're watching now, but he'll take you back. But this show is a 4-time Emmy Award-winning TV show called The Voice. And I know a lot of you watch it because it is like an amazing show, and he does incredible work. So, I'm gonna not, his name is Nate Morton, okay? I didn't say the name yet. So, before we get carried away with all of that, I'm gonna just let him take over, but quiet. I'm gonna ask the question here. Nate, you do crazy work on that show, and it's a lot of work. So, I would like you, I'm sure you've been asked this before, but maybe not on video.
Probably not.
I would really like you to take the listeners and the viewers into what it takes for you to do a week on The Voice. I mean, I assume it's a week that, you know, I mean, it goes week by week.
Sure,
yes.
sure.
Okay. So tell us what goes into a week on The Voice. It's got to be crazy. Mounds of music, mounds of rehearsal,
True.
mounds of preparation.
All true.
I want it all.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The schedule actually varies over the course of different segments of what's going on during the season. So, for example, when we start with our beginning of the season being the blind auditions, right? So that might be 2 weeks of just the band in a rehearsal space, learning 100, 120 songs over the course of those 2 weeks. Just us, fairly relaxed, normal schedule, 5 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day. And it's sort of normal.
Because you know what tunes they're going to be doing.
Well, we know what tunes they have the opportunity to do, right?
Okay.
So there's a list of tunes that they can choose from.
Oh.
And you know, they submit tunes as well, things get cleared and so on. But then it sort of ramps up over the course of the season to the point where by the live shows, which is the most intense, and it's the live shows, it becomes a pretty intense 7-day-a-week, long days for about the last 6 or 7 weeks of the show. So that's when the schedule becomes the most dense. And that schedule looks like this. I'll tell you what it looks like. It's kind of, it's kind of busy. So basically, to say the least, right? So our day one, like the first day of our week, technically is like Wednesday. Right, so Wednesday is the day that we get the songs that we're supposed to know for that week that we're going to play with the contestants. So
and how many songs is that?
Well, it all depends. You know, during the live shows, I think they start when we have about 12 contestants remaining, or 12, you know, and so that might be 12 tunes. So our task on a Wednesday would be to come in at around 10 o'clock, and between 10 and 12, learn 12 songs. Right? Sometimes they're songs we played before, sometimes not. But that's our segment for learning. We get a little break, and then the rest of the day, Wednesday, we rehearse with the contestants and with their coach on camera. So that's all shot. So that part of that day makes up the background footage and the packages that you see before a contestant goes on and performs. So that's Wednesday. Thursday, we get a second rehearsal with each contestant, which is maybe a half an hour, maybe more per contestant. So that's our Thursday typically. Friday, we actually go to a recording studio and we record all those songs. So in that week, for example, it would be 12 songs. We record those songs all day, full-length versions to be released on iTunes when that contestant performs on the show.
From what time to what time are you recording 12 songs?
I'm going to say we usually start around 10, 11. We usually end around 10, 11.
Okay.
It's a
12-hour day. Your normal
it's about
12-hour
there.
day.
About there. It can be. It can be. Sometimes
right.
shorter, but
Okay.
and sometimes longer, quite honestly.
Wow. Okay.
But so that's our Friday. Saturday, we're almost done. Easy, right? Easy. So far, so good.
Wow.
Saturday, we have all day run through on stage for cameras, lights, audio, the contestants to become accustomed to what the audio sounds like on stage and make any adjustments. We do that all day Saturday for Monday's show. We do the same thing again all day Sunday for Tuesday's show.
Nate.
Then Monday, we do our dress rehearsal in the morning, any sort of pre-records that might be necessary, if there's strings that get pre-recorded or a choir or a whatever. We do that in the morning, and then we do the show Monday night. We do that again in the morning for Tuesday, our run-through dress rehearsal.
Did I hear a day off
and
here?
Then, no, not during the live shows. No, 7 days a week. No days off.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
There's nothing else I'd rather be doing 7 days a week, so
Okay.
it's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
And so then, yes, so then Tuesday's show, results, we know who we've got remaining, and then Wednesday, that's day one again. And so that's what our schedule looks like. And during the fall season, no, this is the best part. The best part is during the fall season, we do have Thanksgiving off, typically. But what that means is that the day preceding Thanksgiving, we have to do 2 days of work. So that's a week where a day might stretch into be a 15-hour, 16-hour day. But it's great. Hey, listen, if I wasn't doing it, I'd be sitting at home going like, wow, I wish I had a gig. So I'm very, very fortunate. I never, I won't say regret. I never dread it. I never complain. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I had a conversation. I'll tell you this really quickly. I had a conversation with a very, very good friend of mine who you probably know, a bass player named Reggie Hamilton. Do you know Reggie Hamilton?
I know the name.
So I'm chatting with Reggie one day on the phone, and I happen to be in Las Vegas at the time playing with Cher. By the way, which is almost the same band. It's the band on The Voice is my musical director from Cher, my big brother Paul Merkovich, my bass player from Cher, my big brother Sasha Krivtsov, my guitar player from Cher, Dave Barry, and then myself. So 4 out of the 5.
And how long
Cher
ago
bands.
were you playing with Cher?
This would have been about 7 years ago at this point, 7.5, during her residency at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So I'm talking to my good friend Reggie Hamilton during that run, and at one point I say, "Hey Reggie, I have to go because I have to go downstairs so I can go, do the gig with Cher." And Reggie said, "No, you get to go downstairs and do the gig with Cher." And I will never forget it. It was very simple. It happened in 2 seconds, but I will never forget it. So even in
Attitude
this context,
adjustment.
Yes, absolutely. So even in the context of working a 60-hour week or 70-hour week or whatever, I always remind myself, like, I get to do this, And even, I'm talking so much, you're going to have so much to edit out, my rambling. But even in those moments where we find ourselves sometimes in the studio and we're recording and it's 1 in the morning and we've been there since 10 or 11 and we're still recording, I really am always present and remind myself, hey, you know what? You went to a music college where occasionally your buddies would call you and say, hey, Nate, let's get a rehearsal room and hang out and just jam. I'm thinking maybe tonight, midnight to 4. Can you do midnight to 4? And I would jump at the opportunity.
I know.
Because just the opportunity to go and play.
I know.
I wasn't getting paid.
I know.
And it was midnight to 4. But I loved it. And so in those moments when it's 1 in the morning and we're recording or we still got 2 songs to go and I've been there for X, how many hours, I really remind myself, like, dude, this is what you do. This is what you love. This is like you grew up wanting to do this, and now I'm doing it. So, no regrets, no complaints.
So perfect segue. I mean, what prepared you for this gig?
The best bit of advice that I ever got, and I don't even remember who told me, to be honest. Maybe it was multiple sources. People said, always play as much music as you possibly can, with as many people as you possibly can, in as many varied contexts and genres as you possibly can. And I took it to heart. And it was helped along by the fact that, you know, many of my idols, one of whom is Omar Hakim. Omar Hakim is maybe, okay, I'm going to take the maybe out of it. Omar Hakim is my all-time favorite drummer. Omar Hakim is my all-time fave drummer. And it was so crazy because very recently, through a connection, a mutual connection, a cat named Steve Fisher, who works at Yamaha, he connected the two of us. So the very first time I got to actually, I'm texting Omar Hakim. I'm like, what? And so it's so hilarious because I haven't even deleted like the text thread from my phone. Because I look at my phone and I see a list of texts, I see Omar Hakim in my text thread. I'm like, oh my gosh! But that combining of playing as much as possible with as many people as possible, many genres as possible, and then that combined with seeing a cat like Omar Hakim doing that, right? And then let's not leave out the fact that, like, you know, he's got his long, cool hair, and he looks like a friggin' like ballet dancer. Like, he's so graceful when he plays, right? And let's be honest. He's a black dude playing pop and rock music, right? Which is what I wanted to do. But he always had, from having played with the Weather Report, like street credibility. Like, no one's ever going to question Omar Hakim's freaking authenticity or musical ability. So it was like the dream. So in answering your question, what did I do to prepare? It was all those things, and then it was particularly motivated.
And so, how
by
did you take the steps to do that? What did you do?
In terms of the gigs that I did,
learning
I always wanted to be
all the genres, doing the work.
Great question. So another one of my idols. I have a Rushmore. If you like, I can give you my Rushmore of drummers, because one of the other drummers on my Rushmore is Vinnie Colaiuta.
Of course. Yeah.
Interview done. Thank you. Good night. I mean, that's it, right? What else? Where do you go?
Just name the name.
So he was one of my idols because of that very thing. Similar to Omar, so versatile. And so before going to school, so check this out. Before going to school, I knew guys that I was really into. I was really into, you know, Vinny, and I was into Weckl, and so I was like, huh. So they followed this lineage, like through like the Latin thing, and they did a lot of that. So that was what I was hearing at the time. You know what I mean? So before going to Berkeley, I actually did some investigating, and I went, who's the dude who does the Latin thing? Who's that person? If I wanted to get that thing, who do I study with? At the time, it was Eddie Uribe. Rest in peace. Passed not too long ago. But so I made it a point, and Eddie Uribe happened to be friends with my drum instructor that I was studying with when I was in college, named Grant Menifee. So, you know, basically when it came time to sign up for lessons, Eddie Uribe. Okay, cool. Studied with him for 2 semesters. Then I was kind of like, all right, what else do I want to get under my belt? I wish I could play jazz. This is me going about my laundry list of the genres that I want to have a reasonable, you know, idea about. I want to play jazz. Who's the jazz guy? So then I sought out John Ramsey, who was an Alan Dawson protege, and John shared a great breadth of knowledge about, you know, jazz and so on. And so it just kind of went that way. I just kind of sought the guys who I thought did the things that I wanted to be able to incorporate in my playing. And so, and I teach that way now. It's like when I was studying Latin jazz, I don't think I had any illusions about going off and being the next, you know, Horacio of Negro Hernandez. I just knew I wanted that in my bag of tricks. So even if I'm playing a rock gig, this is what I tell students now. You know, you're playing your rock gig, you're playing your top 40 gig, and they say drum solo. If you break into like a Latin groove, you're probably going to be playing something that a lot of people have never heard in the audience, right? So then they go, wow, this drummer, man, cool. And it's all because you took the time to learn that pattern that time, and it's something that you can incorporate. So that was sort of my methodology. I benefited from going to Berkeley, and so Berkeley's library, music library, was so extensive. So every spare moment, I was in the library watching videos of bands. This is before the huge explosion of YouTube, right? This is before everything was on your phone. You could just YouTube or whatever. So that was what I did. I just tried to listen to everything, and I don't know that I did it on purpose or not, but one way or another, every time I added an influence, the previous influences didn't go away. I know, how many of us know guys where, or musicians where this month they're super into, I don't know, Mike Stern. They learn every single Mike Stern solo. They learn every single Mike Stern lick. They learn all of it, and you think it's Mike Stern. And then the next month, they're into Pat Martino. So then all the Mike Stern stuff just goes away. And then they become the Pat Martino.
Right.
I never did that. I was fortunate that everything just kept going in.
Right. You assimilated all of it, and it went into a big pot.
I tried. Exactly.
Right. Got it.
Exactly. So.
And a little file cabinet, and you could take out all the files.
I just kept adding ingredients and ingredients and ingredients. So it ended up, instead of being a chocolate cake or an orange cake, it would end up being like a chocolate, orange, German chocolate, apple, cheese cake, all in one.
Yum. Yeah.
I think that works better musically than culinarily.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure culinarily is not a word.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But
it works here.
I'm going with it.
And definitely for what you do on The Voice, it's imperative because, and even just if you bake a German chocolate alone and the lemon alone, I mean, look, you've got to do R&B, you've got to do country, you've got to do,
Sure. We'll even do orchestral things. We'll do EDM. We'll do.
I mean,
it's all over the map.
And so, I mean, it's all over the map, and you're prepared.
It's funny, it's funny because I didn't realize that I was preparing for the gig when I was preparing.
Well, of course, how could you know?
And point of fact, that gig, the Voice gig, where you're recording all these different genres, you're playing all these genres on TV live. I don't think that gig existed when I was in college. I don't think that gig existed. If you had asked me in college my dream gig, tell me, what?
Maybe not quite that gig, but, Ed was commenting the other day, you are sort of the Eddie Shaughnessy of the modern times.
Okay.
Because Eddie was on The Tonight Show, and he had to play everything.
And, it's actually, since you mentioned it, and not to dwell on this, but Omar on Night Music probably had to do a similar thing where they have different artists on. He's playing with all the artists.
So I mean, some of those late night shows. I mean, Vinny did it for a little while too with Joan. What's her name?
Rivers.
Escaping me. Thank you.
Rivers.
So I mean, a lot.
So that was.
I mean, that's as close as it gets.
Right, but
to
in terms
what you're
of
doing.
Right, but in terms of being a music show, where you've got 10 artists, 12 artists coming out, or during the blind auditions where we record the blind auditions because those are all pre-recorded and then edited into episodes. They're cut.
Right.
In a given day, we'll play.
Yeah,
28.
That's true.
Different. Contestants.
Yeah, this is a whole music show, and those are talk shows. Absolutely true. Completely. It's apples and oranges. But that's true.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. But all those times spent in cover bands, learning all that stuff, it's like it's all kind of led to this. And now I'm in a cover band. Someone asked me the other day. I saw some. No, I ain't, man. Listen, I'm very proud of my cover band.
I understand that you have a formula or a way of learning music quick.
I do.
Is there a way to distill how you do that?
Sure, there is.
Okay, tell us.
It's funny, I get asked that a fair bit, and for me, it's just sort of made sense, and it's just sort of evolved, and it's not, it's nothing crazy. It looks kind of weird when you look at it on paper. But basically, I just make a roadmap because I benefit from the fact that on the show we're playing primarily Western music. So I'm most often in 4/4. I don't often have to notate odd meters. I don't often have to notate tons of unison band licks. I mean, if Chick Corea called me tomorrow, I could not use what I do. So I have to write proper charts because that's a much more intricate.
Frank Zappa came back from the dead.
Exactly.
Okay.
If Zappa does Zappa calls, then what I do does not work. But basically, all I do is I abbreviate each section with the letter of the section. Intro is I, verse is V, chorus is C, bridge is B, solo is S. If there's a section after the last chorus where the music sort of elevates, I call that the drive. So that's a D. If there's a little denouement at the end of the song, I call that the outro, so that's like a O. Okay. And then I follow that with basically the number of however many bars that section takes place. So if the intro is 4 bars and the verse is 8 and the chorus is 8 and the bridge is 4 and the chorus is 8, then I'm like I4 dash V8 dash C8 dash B4 dash C8, and that's good for me. The only time it ever gets sort of, I won't even say complicated, but sort of the next phase of that would be if I had to write a kick on the end of 4 in the verse, let's say, right? So if I've got to denote that the verse is 8 bars, and on the 8th bar there's a kick on the end of 4, then that's going to look like a V, 8, open parenthesis. I will literally write open parenthesis and 4, like the symbol and.
Okay.
Or sorry, I'll write 4 and exclamation point, which means it's a hit, close parenthesis.
Okay, but
Right?
this is your.
They call it musical algebra.
Okay.
Because if you were to look at it written down, it looks sort of like a math equation. But then even that, I mean, if I need something more specific, or I need a sort of reminder mentally of what a section is, if it's something different, if it's any sort of section where it's like quarters on the snare, that's Motown to me. Whenever I think that, I think Motown. So for me, if that's what's going to happen on the verse, then it'll say V, open parenthesis, MTWN, Motown, close parenthesis, and then the number for however many bars that is. Right? And so if something happens at the beginning, I'm still talking like 8-bar phrase. If something happens at the beginning of that 8-bar phrase, like a drop on 1, so you're coming into that section and you blow 2, 3, then I'll literally write it before the number. I'll write, parenthesis, BRK1, close parenthesis. So that's break 1, and then the number. So that, to me, that means it happens at the beginning. If it's something like a kick going out of it, I'll write the number, and then I'll write whatsoever the figure is, or what the hit is. I'll write rhythms just using 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 1 and a 2 and if I need to specifically know what a rhythm is. You follow me?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it makes sense, right?
Now
I do all of that. Sorry, I do all of that. Yeah. Literally, I do all of that on my Mac, on my little MacBook, in stickies. I open up my Mac, I start stickies, I make a sticky of it, and I write the song title, and then I write my musical algebra under it, and then that's where it lives. And so you'll notice in a lot of, if you catch, glimpses of it, you'll see that I have my laptop on my left. So typically speaking, I'm not running any tracks. I'm not, doing any musical programming. I'm reading my chart off of stickies. Very high tech. Very high tech stuff here. This is like top secret intel right now.
Now, what about setting the tempo? What are you
99%, if not more, of what we play on the show is to click. We're almost always on a click, even when it sounds like we're not. Even when tempos speed up and slow down, we're almost always on a click. And the reason for that is because our arrangements sometimes feature additional parts. They may feature strings, and so Paul, our musical director, may write or Eric, our keyboardist, may write a string arrangement that has to accompany it. So if you've got 8 strings and you're trying to put down, you want to triple track that, so it sounds like an orchestral situation. If you're only doing it once, I mean, I guess you could conduct it, but then if you've got a band that's got to play along with that, what are we going to guess and play along to where the strings are? So no, basically, a tempo map has to be created that deals with the ebbs and flows of that, even if it's rubato, right? So even things that sound rubato sometimes have to be on click if there are strings that are following. Obviously, if you were doing it purely live at, Disney Music Hall, then you've got a conductor, and they can do that. They're conducting the band and so on and so forth. But if you're dealing with anything that's got to be pre-recorded, it's got to be on a click.
Of course.
So that's where my tempos are coming from. Even on the rare occasion that something is played not to a click, maybe because it's just a contestant and they're singing and accompanying themselves on guitar, or something along those lines. Even then, we establish a jumping off point, and while they may not be playing to a click, just for the purposes of consistency, Michael Bernard, who runs our Pro Tools rig, he's like the man behind, he's the wizard behind the curtain. I mean, he really he's a member of the band. Michael Bernard is a member of the band. He's, you know, he doesn't get as many thanks and quite as much appreciation as he should sometimes, but he really is a great asset. Michael Bernard will give the contestant, or will give me, just that much. So it's like, okay, that's where it is. Okay, you got it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
And then the person can jump off, or maybe I click them off into it.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so that's how we deal with tempos.
Okay. All right. And so, just a little bit into your equipment. Now, I know you use Pearl.
I'm a Pearl guy, yeah.
And
the best reason to play drums, I've heard.
And sometime back, you also got a Roland rig.
Yes.
So.
I don't know Roland's slogan, so I got nothing. Roland, they're awesome.
So tell me about the incorporation of the Roland rig and how that helps.
Sure.
What you do.
I'm really very, very simple. Mm-hmm. I'm a very, very simple man. I'm a very, very simple person. I don't do a ton of programming. I keep things very straightforward. And so my Roland rig is basically there. I have sort of an auxiliary Roland V-drums kit, and that's there if a song is particularly loop-based, right? So if a song is particularly loop-based and I need to emulate that sound, right. I pivot, and there's the Roland kit, and I play it. The rig is set up so that I have triggers so that I can also access some of those sounds even when I'm sitting at the sort of the full acoustic kit, because I have a trigger for my kick drum, and then I also can reach over and hit the electronic snare and then actually play the acoustic hi-hat if I want to. And in that way, it's easy for me to switch from, now I'm emulating a loop. Oh, on the chorus, we go to acoustic kit, so boom, now I'm on the acoustic kit. So I do that as well. But I'm not really, I don't run electronics per se. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not triggering things. I'm not dropping in and out loops and things like that as much. I sort of leave that to Michael Bernard's world.
Okay. All right.
And if we were live, I know that there are much more complex ways to deal with that that allow for more flexibility, where you are using Ableton or something to drop things in and out live as you're doing it. And if we were in a live show and we were called upon frequently to be ready, like, oh, maybe the singer's going to do the chorus.
Right.
We're going to vamp on the chorus here. I need to do that.
Right.
But in such a tightly programmed and sort of, time restrictive sort of way, if the tune's got to be 1:45, the tune's got to be 2 minutes 50, 2 minutes 30, it's got to be that consistently.
Correct.
Right. So because we don't have that element of changing things on the fly, I usually let Michael Bernard handle the majority of that stuff.
Well, good.
Yes. It keeps my life
One
simpler.
less thing to worry
keeps
about.
My life simpler,
okay,
Robyn,
good.
for sure.
Yeah, and so, and as long as we're talking about things you use, you actually use.
Where's this going? Where do you think it's going? I'm getting nervous.
No. You're a supporter of the our sponsor.
Oh, ePad.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The ePad practice pads are literally the best practice pad that you can put your hands on. And I'm not just saying that for saying that.
You've been using ePad forever. And why?
Well, okay, that's a great. There are certain practice pads that I used when I was coming up, and they were. I don't need to name specific brands or anything, but there's somewhere like the rubber compound. I don't know what the technical term for all of that is. It's a little artificial. There's too much. It's not real feeling when you play it. Some pads.
Right.
And then, there's the flip side of that, where you've got a guy like a Dennis Chambers going, I grew up practicing on pillows. Okay, well, I don't want to do that. Like, is there any in between? Is there an in between like this super crazy rubber thing and a pillow? And so, that little experiment didn't last long. I tried the pillow thing. That's not for me.
Okay.
And so the ePad is, as best I can determine, the best middle. It's the best middle. There's rebound, but you still have to work. You still have to work for double strokes, And so, and on a practical note, it's actually really quiet as well, which, you know, some companies, the practice pad is so loud that it's like, okay, I can just practice on the snare drum right now. It's that loud. I'm still annoying everyone around me right now, even though I'm playing on this practice pad because the pad is so loud.
Okay.
So
right.
yeah, so the keypad is perfect.
Do you warm up before this
I
thing
do.
you do?
I do.
mean,
I do.
Yeah, there's time.
My gig is not a chops gig. I remember reading an interview once, and I don't remember the drummer, but they said the way they know that they're warmed up is when they can do singles at a particular metronome marking, right? I know that I'm warmed up when I get my singles to this speed. Because chops in that regard, speed per se, that's not the primary thing on my gig, right? So I don't worry about that as much as just getting the blood flowing. I just want the blood to be flowing, and I just want to feel loose and so my warm-up regimen is like many rudiments on the pad. You know, I actually put on music, and I try to sort of put on music that's gonna like hype me up. So like depending on my mood, that might be some hip hop, or that might be Meshuggah, or that might be AC/DC, or that might be my all-time favorite band Fishbone.
Okay.
And so I put that on, and then I kind of just play rudiments and just sticking patterns in time to what I'm doing. So in that respect, it's not, you know, well, here's what I do, Robyn. I play this rudiment at this BPM and this rudiment at this.
Right.
That's not my nature,
Yeah.
right? So I do that, but then that's actually combined with just stretching. Like I just have to get some stretching because I'm getting up there.
Oh, shut up!
I'm getting up there.
I don't want to hear.
I gotta tell you a story. My buddy Tony DiAugustine, who's a great drummer. I'm so fortunate to know so many phenomenal musicians.
I know. I'm with you there.
Man. So my buddy Tony DiAugustine. So he's a little bit older than me, and he came out at one point to hear me. I was playing a gig out here. I lived on the East Coast at the time. I was playing a gig out here with Dale Bozio from the band Missing Persons, right? And so on that gig, because Terry is the original guy, people expect you to like kind of, you know, and whatever you do, it's never going to be as good as Terry. And you're always going to get like the, you're okay, man, whatever. So I come out and I play, and I'm playing my little whatever my little thing is, whatever. And so after the gig, again, like I said, this is years. This is 20 some odd years ago. And Tony goes, yeah, man. So you know, what do you do to warm up? What do you do to warm up before that? And I go, warm up? And he looks at me and he goes, you just walk out on stage and do that without warming up? And I go, yeah? And he just looks at me and he goes, oh, you're so cute. So yes.
Just wait till you're older.
So now I have to warm up a little bit, and not only do I just warm up from a playing perspective, but I warm up with stretches. And, you know, you would think I was gonna run a 10K or something if you saw me warm up with all the stretching and so on. Yeah, you're so cute. You're so cute. So thank you for that, Tony.
Are there other people that you want to shout out as far as endorsements or anything that you need to say hey to?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm you know, I'm going to use that a little bit to segue. Just not segue, but I'll give you a little endorsement spiel, which is that for the most part, there are exceptions, but for the most part, the companies that I'm with, as you just pointed out, I've been with EPAD forever. Like I can't even remember, it's been so long, right? The majority of my endorsements are relationships, right? So Pearl, as we mentioned earlier, Zildjian may be my longest standing endorsement. I've had a relationship, a professional and personal relationship with Zildjian since I was in college. And I recently got in the mail like congratulations on 25 years of being in a Zildjian. I was like, what?
Nice.
What?
You're so cute.
All right. So that was pretty amazing, you know. So Zildjian I've been with forever. But I was just going to say, it's always been relationships. So for me, I always decided, what do I want to play? And I've always approached it from a point of reaching out to a company and going, hey, I think you make the best thing. So whatever happens, I'm going to be playing whatsoever it is that you make anyway.
Right.
Would you like to start a professional relationship?
Right.
And maybe they say no. Maybe they say yeah.
Right.
Maybe they say no. And if they say no, then I go, okay, cool. If it's okay with you, can I stay in touch and let you know what I'm doing and see if we can grow something from there? And so, Zildjian is 20 plus years. Pearl is 20 plus years. I'm now a Pearl percussion endorser as well. Zildjian is my stick company and cymbal company. Roland is one of my newer relationships.
Right.
And even that is a decade-old relationship, dating back to Rockstar, over a decade old.
Right.
Newer endorsements that I've been fortunate to make, or newer relationships, are like, do you guys happen to know Frankie Parisi at Wing Key? He makes a drum key, and it's great because I don't mean to sound like a commercial, but it is truly great because if you ever had to use sticks to like pry open like a wing key that someone has tied down too hard, or has screwed down too hard, he has a drum key, and then on one side of it, it's the wrench that fits the conga, nuts to tighten. But then on the other side, it's like it's hard to describe. It's like a 4-prong thing that will grab a wing nut if someone has cranked something down too tight. No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's Frankie and the wing key is great. That's something that I love. Jeff Kelly that makes the Kelly shoe. Which is a horseshoe sort of mic mount that goes inside the kick drum. That's a relationship that we enjoy. Big Fat Snare Drum. They make great drum muffles that you can immediately sort of change the tone of your drums and set back sonically the sound of your drums like 30 years. Like, oh, it's the 70s. Listen to those dry, toms or whatever. And as long as we're talking about endorsements, I'm also stoked to be with Remo. Remo is a company that I've also been with for, it feels like a couple of decades at least. So, so thanks to everyone at Remo as well. Well, it's interesting. Again, I'm gonna touch back. I'm gonna go back to my buddy Tony D'Agostino.
Okay.
It's really something when I get to chat with folks. Because when people ask me questions, it actually forces me to go back and go, why do you think that way? Where did that come from? And I really realized the people who have been super influential on my life, and Tony is one of them. Tony has been a big influence. I said to him at one point when I was out here, and he lived here at the time, and I was out on tour, and I said, Tony, what's the hardest thing about being a professional musician? And Tony said, finding a balance.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was in my mid-20s. And at the time, I said, a balance between what? And Tony said, a balance between everything. And again, at the time, I was like, balance between everything? What is he talking about? I don't know. What does that mean? And every passing year, my appreciation for what that means has grown and has become more profound. I really do get it. So, it's like a balance between music you love, playing versus music that pays more money, for example. A balance between being super busy and working on tour versus being able to be home and see your family. A balance between working a lot and earning an income versus having the time to enjoy the fact that you're earning an income. And, for example, not working and having the time to do those things, but not fretting about the fact that I'm not working. So, I love the fact that you basically said, how do you balance that? Because that word balance is crucial.
Yeah.
Right? So in terms of my life, I'm very lucky that, as I just described to you, a 7-day, a week part of the show. Well, we also have weeks off. We have a week off here, 2 weeks off there, much like if you were on tour. And we also have days that are relatively short. I'm off today. And so when I finish this, I'll be going back and picking up my kid and taking him to his tennis lesson, So I'm fortunate that, yes, we are very busy at times, but I do have those times when I'm not busy and I am at home.
Does the show go on hiatus?
I wouldn't use the term hiatus because to me hiatus is sort of an indefinite. It's like, oh, we're on hiatus. When will we be back? I don't know. We're on hiatus. Oh. So we don't go on a... Okay. That's what it means to me. I don't know if that's really what it means.
It's not what it means.
Just a break?
Yeah, break.
Well, we have breaks. Yeah. We have breaks. We definitely have breaks throughout the year. We probably work 40 weeks out of the year.
Okay. Oh.
Something like that.
Oh.
But as I said, even in those days where it's a long day, right? Even if I have a long day that starts at, let's say, for me, a long day is 10 to, let's say 7.
Okay.
I'm still making it home in time to catch some of the kids before they go to bed.
Right.
If I'm not too lazy, I'm up in the morning to see them before they go to school.
Right.
So even in a busy schedule like that, I'm still getting a chance to see them.
So you're not on tour,
right.
and you're not away.
Precisely.
So that is the upside.
Precisely.
No, okay.
Yeah. So in light of that,
Okay. All right.
I consider myself pretty fortunate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's balance when you're busy and weighing the money and the thing and the responsibility and making a living so that you can take care of your children. It's all a part of life.
It is. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that it's all worked out the way that it has, because with my family, I'm fortunate that I don't have to be gone for 6 months on the road. You know what I mean? And I did do that. There was definitely a part of my life where the majority of my time was spent on the road, and there are things that I missed, with my son Miles, but yeah, like I said, I'm lucky now.
Okay.
To be
That's
home
good.
based. People sometimes hey man, I'm gonna be out in LA. Let me know if you're gonna be around. I basically go, I'm always around. I'm always around.
But I may be working.
Yeah, I may be working. You may have to come see me at, on the lot at Universal or something, but I'm always around.
So I guess last question, is there any other music that you want to mention that you
sure.
might have done that you want people to know about?
You got it. I am currently involved in 2 projects.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is simply put, the Nate and Kenwood project. Myself, Nate.
Okay.
And my buddy Kenwood Anderson. And that was a collaborative effort. And musically, it's an instrumental, I'm going to call it instrumental funk pop jazz record. Although that doesn't exactly represent sort of how eclectic it is.
Oh, it sounds like the big pot that you...
A little bit, a little bit.
And
creating it, and exactly. Thank you for making that connection, because it was definitely a project that we did together where, my contributions, I kind of just got to go like, hey, what if it does this here? What if it does that here? What if it does this here? And that's one of the beauties of being sort of in a band creative situation like that. Being the artist is that you do have that leeway, as opposed to someone is telling you slower, faster, more this, more that.
Course.
It was neat to be able to go, how about if we take it this way?
So have you done the record?
That record is done. It is called Funky Jazzy Stuff.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Wasn't a reach. Funky Jazzy Stuff, that's what it is.
And when can people get it?
Absolutely. You can get it on CD Baby.
Oh, it's already done. It's finished. It's
yes.
ready.
Oh, that
it's
record's
out.
done. That record is done. Well, I said I have 2. So that one is one that is done. It is out there. And you can track it down anywhere. The record is called Funky Jazzy Stuff. The artists are Nate and Kenwood.
Okay.
And what else can I say? It's on CD Baby. It's on iTunes.
Okay.
You can get it anywhere.
Cool.
There you go. And
okay.
So there's that. And then I'm also involved in another project with a release coming out soon. I am not positive when. We'll just have to see how things all shape up. But that's with my buddy Sean Halley. And he is a phenomenal musician and just multi-talented cat. He's the guy who can pretty much pick up anything and figure out how to play it. And, 10 minutes later, he's doing something phenomenal on it, and you go, why are you like you are? You make me very angry for being so angry. That's just the way it is.
I know those people.
Yeah.
And what is that called?
Fraud Profits. FRAUD.
Okay.
Profits.
Okay.
Fraud Profits. And we have a Facebook page, Fraud Profits. PRO, gosh, I'm going to misspell my own band name. PROPHETS. There we go. Fraud Profits. Not Profits, PROFITS.
Right. I knew that somehow.
We were being a little clever there. See what we did there? See what we did there? Okay. And
the kind of music? What?
Fraud Profits is a more sort of reaching jazz, but again, there are similar elements in the sense that with Sean and I, again, we didn't really put any limits on what it could be.
Okay.
So at one point, we got together and we formulated ideas together, and it was almost like at times we challenged each other in the sense that, I might go, oh, okay, you know what, watch this, here's a country groove. We're writing a country song now. There you go. How do you like that? And he would come up with something, and then, so that was a tune on there called Eat the Frog, or Eat a Frog, rather. And it's like a country-influenced fusion tune.
Okay.
And it features a fabulous musician named Janae Fleener on fiddle. And, so that's going to be on there. There'd be times when he'd come in and he'd go, you figure out the time signature. Go ahead, drummer guy. And so then there's me, and it's like, okay, what is this in? Is this in 5 or whatever? Okay, cool. So it was really great that we sort of were able to interact and playfully challenge each other to go places other than,
Right. So these are projects where you get to stretch.
More than others, yeah, precisely.
Fun.
Both are.
Fun.
Both are,
and
that's exactly the right way to put it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's actually funny psychologically. Even Paul teases me because sometimes someone will say, "Oh, Nate, take a drum solo," and Paul, my musical director, will go, "Nate thinks every song is a drum solo."
Oh,
it's
really?
totally. But the funny part about it is this. The funny part about it, I love Paul. He's my big brother. The funny part about it is doing these other projects where it's like, oh, I'll get to go over here and kind of go nuts, and there's not really any rules. It does affect and inform the way that I play other things where it's like, okay, there is a bit of a construct here to live within. And so, you understand what I'm saying. It's like owning a sports car.
Of course.
Right? If you own a sports car, if you have the opportunity to go to the track every now and then and open it up and take it up to 110 or 120 miles an hour, well, then when you're driving around on the street, you've gotten that out, so you don't feel the need to do that.
Right,
so
right.
It's
good for you.
What's
good
the word?
For you.
Well, what's
Therapeutic?
the word? Balance.
Yeah.
It's balance. It's all that.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
There you go.
Well, this has been so much fun.
I agree.
I agree. You've got a great spirit.
Thank you. That's
really,
kind of you to say. Thank you.
Really,
you do as well. You get what you give.
I've really enjoyed sitting with you. It's just a really positive, fun
It has
moment.
been my pleasure.
And this has been a joy, and everybody, thank you for tuning in and having Nate share with us, and tune into The Voice and check out his other projects. And Nate, do you have a website that you want to share with?
The best place to reach me is my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/Nate Morton Drums. Facebook.com Nate Morton Drums /Nate Morton Drums.
Okay, everybody, you heard it here. And thanks, Nate.
My pleasure. Thank you.